We are on page, so that you know page-wise, it's 348, but it's chapter 16, section 7, the end of illusion. Paragraph number 4 is where we left off. It's page 348 in your text, if you have a second edition like mine. I'm going to read these 4 and 5 to lead us into the answer. It says, the past is gone. Seek not to preserve it in the special relationship that binds you to it and would teach you salvation is past, so you must return to the past to find your salvation. There is no fantasy that does not contain the dream of retribution for the past. Would you act out the dream or let it go? Do we keep wanting to relive the pain and suffering of the past, or are we ready to let it go? That's what this is talking about. In the special relationship, the basis is, from the Course's perspective, it says we think something's missing inside of us, and so we search outside of us to find how to fulfill those things within us. And then we find them in other people or in other things, but the way we find them is how the ego thinks of it, which is, I'll steal it from you because I need it. Then it becomes a vengeance kind of taking thing, so it's not a lovely fullness thing. From the holy relationship perspective, we look inside and see ourselves as complete, whole, the will of God. We are one with the will of God, so that when we look out at others, we're not they don't need to fill us up. Now we see that we can be complete together, and then we can join in a relationship in a healthy way that doesn't have to have vindictiveness and guilt and vengeance as its source, or the past. And so what this is saying is, the special relationship has to keep us locked into always looking for something better. Oh, I used to be. Remember how when you were young, maybe you took a trip somewhere. I remember when I was little, we traveled, my dad was a salesman. We traveled the 11 western states, and we saw some really cool things going to Montana and Wyoming and Utah and all those hicky towns, We'd see, I think there was even though it was Kansas, big ball of twine somewhere. My brother would always find the weird things off the section of the freeway to go, or the highway. There weren't even freeways to go look at because they were interesting, And I remember the dinosaurs. You guys remember those dinosaurs at the gas station? I think it was in like Pahrump or something in California or Nevada. And these big dinosaurs, well, we always had to stop there. They were big plastic or paper mache or something. Oh, what? Well, there you go. Well, there's another one, though. I know there was another place that had it, but they're there too. But anyway, I remember going to that one time, and those dinosaurs were huge, weren't they? I mean, they were enormous and gigantic, and we'd go up in the head, or you'd go in the body and all this other stuff. Well, I remember seeing those years later. They weren't so big anymore, were they? My past had made them huge, really scary, and then you see them and you're going, well, this isn't scary, and this isn't big, and this is really kind of nothing, Well, the ego doesn't want you to look, because it'll say, well, you'll go, that's not really that big, and that's not that scary, and that's not that yucky. But when you just have that looming at you, and you never look and put it down before the feet of truth to be released from you, taken from you, it seems pretty big, and it seems pretty bad, and it seems pretty terrible. Special relationships keep the world going. We're always looking outside of ourselves. We're always looking behind ourselves. We're always looking everywhere else but at ourselves. We're never looking within to find the peace of God. In the special relationship, it does not seem to be an acting out of vengeance that you seek. We're not trying to hurt ourselves. And even when the hatred and the savagery break through briefly, the illusion of love is not profoundly shaken. It's like, well, that's still okay. We don't see how awful it is. We kind of tolerate it. We tolerate our suffering. We tolerate our pain. We tolerate the past. But what it's saying is, you don't need to tolerate that anymore. You are entitled to so much more. You are entitled to miracles. Why are you not experiencing the fullness of you? Yet the one thing the ego never allows you to reach is the special Yet the one thing the ego never allows to reach awareness is that the special relationship is the acting out of vengeance on who? Yourself. Always on you. You think it's the other people. Oh, they're terrible, they're bad, blah, 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 blah. But it's what Paul said. These women who sat there and saw their family members and others being shot by this young man who was so crazy, he just didn't like black people, in a prayer meeting. And they said, we are not going to hate you, because if we hate you, we're the ones locked in prison. We're going to forgive you because we believe love is stronger than hate and fear and attack. And a prisoner and a jailer are never released. If I hold you in prison, if you've done me bad and I hold you in prison, then I'm there with you for forever. And why do I want to be like that? Why do I want to stay there? I loved what Nelson Mandela said. When it became impossible for the whites to stay with apartheid, it became impossible for that kind of system to prevail, and they finally gave the people of South Africa his freedom and made him president, but they were terrified, and they sat with him and they said, we are afraid of you. He says, what? We're afraid you're going to treat us the way we've treated you. And he said, why in the world would we want to be anything like you? Why would we want to be like you? We don't want to treat you the way you treated us. We don't want to be like that. And see, that's so hard for an ego or for vengeance to understand, yet that is the answer. The special relationships is really an acting out of vengeance on yourself. You are imprisoned. You are suffering. Yet what else could it be? In seeking the special relationship, you look not for glory in yourself. You don't realize you're clad in glory. You don't realize that the Holy Spirit, your will is one with His. You have denied that it is there. And the relationship becomes your substitute for it. And vengeance becomes your substitute for atonement. And the escape from vengeance becomes your loss. So to be released from vengeance, you lose something. If I keep that hate going, then I haven't lost. But if I let that hate go, I lose. And yet we saw in the case of these two wonderful women whose children and friends were killed before their eyes, they said vengeance is not the answer. What did Martin Luther King Jr. say? An eye for an eye leaves everyone blind. Why do we want to do that? Makes no sense. To the ego, it makes great sense. It makes all the sense in the world. But in truth, it makes no sense. So what does it say? Here's the 6th paragraph, and this is the answer. It says, against the ego's insane notion of salvation, the Holy Spirit gently lays what? The holy instant. What did we talk about? Because this is your holy instant of release. Because in the holy instant, you realize the sin has no power over you and you are clad in holiness, that your will is one with God's. That is the truth. We said before that the Holy Spirit must teach through comparisons and use opposites to point to truth. The holy instant is the opposite of the ego's fixed belief in salvation through vengeance for the past, looking back all the time, reliving pain and suffering now that is already past. In the holy instant, it is understood that the past is gone, and with its passing, the drive for vengeance has been uprooted and has disappeared. The stillness and the peace of now enfold you in perfect gentleness. Everything is gone except the truth. What a powerful statement